And then don't overutilize AI. Y'all, they see right through us, whether if it's captions, whether if it's a banner on your website, like just keep it simple, keep it authentic, but just utilize it for the things that obviously help our business be more effective, but not for the actual user experience.
Meet Social Pro from Opinion, the #1 social media management platform in property management. Create once. Publish everywhere. Publish all the content that matters, stories, posts, reels, tweets, and more. From Facebook to Instagram and beyond, Social Pro lets you create beautiful, optimized content in seconds.
Send posts to every major social network, instantly or on a schedule, all with just one click. Easily stay on brand using built-in Canva integration, premium stock photos, and custom watermarks. One inbox. Every comment, DM, and mention all in one place. Measure what matters with clear insights into top posts, audience growth, and engagement stats across all locations. Collaborate, post, schedule, create. Social Pro elevates resident engagement with AI-powered simplicity.
Social Pro from Opinion. Elevate your brand. Engage your residents.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Student Housing Insight Podcast. I'm your host, Wes Deese. I'm also the CEO of Student Housing Insight. And if you've never heard of us, we are a platform for off-campus student housing professionals to network, share ideas, as well as data. You can find out more about our platform at studenthousinginsight.com. In addition to this podcast, we also host the industry's monthly webinar for the U.S. called Shop Talk. SHOP stands for Student Housing Operations. And each month we provide a legislative and policy update that are impacting our industry. We get that from typically Dave Borzos at the National Multi-Housing Council. Shop Talk also provides a monthly overview of pre-leasing data on national and a regional basis, along with typically some observations from some of the operators. And we will also have a topic of the month. So make sure that you get all of that great information. To tune into that, you can go to the website shoptalk.info to register to receive those monthly invites, as well as find previous Shop Talk replays. You'll also find that on our YouTube channel for Student Housing Insight. And yeah, go check that out. A lot of great information that you do not want to miss, especially if you're in the ownership or operations of off-campus purpose-built student housing. Well, guys, if you've been watching what we've been, most of the content that we've put out recently has come from our ambassadors. And I've got one of our ambassadors that is presenting an interview that she had today that is just going to blow your socks off. It's some great information. So make sure that if you're on the marketing and leasing side, especially the marketing side, that you pay attention to this. But I want to bring up Alaina Jackson as my co-host today. Alaina, how are you?
I'm good, Wes. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. And I can't wait for the audience to hear this interview that you've got. But before we get into that, just for folks that may not know Alaina Jackson with PeakMade, give us a little bit of background on yourself.
Yeah, so I am Alaina Jackson with PeakMade. I have been with PeakMade for going on 13 years this year. Really exciting. Have worked in sales and marketing for most of my time at Peak. Held a couple of travel positions with my boots on the ground until ultimately sitting, at the corporate level, overseeing sales and marketing strategy. So I'm very excited about the topic that we covered. just because I think there's some really good takeaways. So I'm excited for everybody to tune in.
Really quick, I want to just kind of walk everybody, one, you're an ambassador with us this year. It's a 2-year commitment. You're in your first year. Our first year ambassadors have to produce, a piece of content as part of their obligations of being an ambassador. And I gotta, first of all, congrats. You were like on the ball out of between you and all the other ambassadors. You were like the quickest one to get your outline in, and it was, very well thought through. And so congrats to you on that. And thank you for that more than anything else. But, and I could tell right away that you were really, really passionate, about this topic and who you wanted to have involved. But kind of what sparked that for you, and especially with some of the folks that you have as guests for this interview?
Yeah, well, first, I was very excited, Wes, which is why I was so speedy, because I think the industry could use so much more of this. It's been one of my favorite things about being an ambassador is, one, this project, because it allows me to kind of step out of my daily routine of what I do every single day and be able to spread some awareness or knowledge to the rest of the industry that is doing what I'm doing every single day that could potentially help. As we all know, marketing trends change so quickly, literally like the weather here in Dallas. It is just so hard to stay on top of those things as quickly as they change. So I was very passionate about coming up with a topic that had to do with marketing trends, but also ways for us to not feel like we have to always be up on it, doing whatever is out, because sometimes that's not the most effective way to reach our renters. I was very excited about the people that I picked. And truth be told, I went through like 6 different options. I wish I could have had 6 people, because I certainly would have. But it was important to me to get some voices outside of the sector combined with some voices that, wake up and think about leasing every single day. But so they offer a perspective on marketing and branding that is outside of how we think in student housing, but could be very beneficial to the strategies that we deploy in student housing. So that was my strategy in selecting my panelists. One of them is actually one of my direct reports on my team who is very in the weeds with leasing and marketing every day, oversees the majority of our student portfolio, and has a very diverse client base. So as you know, and if you don't, I'm going to share this, PeakMade is a third-party management company. So we don't own and operate, we operate. And so we have very diverse client base, and she oversees the portion of the portfolio that has the most. So she's working with different perspectives, different goals for these different clients from a financial perspective, different goals for them for leasing and what they want to do with their projects. So her insight is very helpful because she just is in it every day, having to think through what to deploy for what specific market. She also has a range when it comes to property types and then market types. And this year has been a little bit tricky in some of the markets that she's in, whereas she's seeing some other, tier 2 and tier 3 markets thrive that never have before. So It was very interesting to get her take. And then with the other 2, they operate in our sector for the most part, but their bread and butter is outside and they work with bigger brands. So Dee, for example, has clients like the Dallas Cowboys and the Rangers, and what they're doing from a branding perspective, his thumbprint is all over, his company's thumbprint is all over. And I thought that could be cool because I think when we think of brands like that, we're like, no way a property could pull something like that off, or a new development could pull that off. But realistically, some of the things that they're doing from an event standpoint and like when they roll their brands out could actually be very beneficial to us in our sector. So that was really, helpful. And it was helpful to get his perspective on keeping things simple, because I think in our minds, we're like, Dallas Cowboys, they must be doing crazy, outrageous things. And that's not the case. They're, less is more for them, just like it is for us. And so that was helpful. And then with Ross is the coolest guy I have ever met in my life. So
he's got a British accent, so that always helps.
it's like winter. You know what I mean, Wes? It was so great having a conversation with him and picking his brain about some of the things that they're doing in social media specifically, because our goal is always to meet our renters where they are, right? And that
Yeah.
is where they are. But I think we have to really be careful in how we do that. It has to be in an authentic way, or we're not going to get them. And so he talks a lot about, trend tracking and just how we have to be very careful. Nobody wants to see me at 35 and up doing a
Yeah.
TikTok dance to get a lease. Um,
Yeah.
so I think it was very helpful to just hear his perspective on what renters are actually looking for on those platforms instead of what we think we should be doing. And that just is different. That's very different. So I was really excited about getting this group together, and the energy was really great. So there's some really good nuggets in there.
So if there's one thing you would tell the audience that's listening to this, hey, make sure you lean in and pay attention on this. You mentioned the keeping it simple, but is
Yes.
there anything else you would say, hey, make sure you take this away from it?
I think take away that authenticity is not dead. It's not going anywhere. And that has kind of been a constant, no matter the generation that we're leasing to. And just focus on when the panelists talk about how we can bring the basics back and do them the right way, and how that will get us the results that we're looking for.
Oh, great. Well, I think this is probably like 35-ish minutes or so. You could have talked about this for 2 hours and I would have been totally glued to it. So, so for our audience, make sure that you strap in and turn this up and pay attention to it, because it's a lot of material coming at you really fast. So let's go to that interview right now.
Today, I am joined by some pretty phenomenal panelists, and we are going to chat through how to basically influence influencers. So, how to influence Gen Z. So, we know that our student renters today are much more tech savvy, they're values driven, and way more chill than ever when it comes to making buying decisions and how they buy. And so, our panelists today will jump in some really cool ways to create urgency, to make sure that you have a strong brand, but in a really authentic way, how we can connect with those renters that result in sales. So I will turn it over to them and let them introduce themselves, and then we will jump right in.
Hi, I'm D. Jackson, co-founder and creative director of Apartment 11, a marketing and advertising agency here in Dallas, Texas.
And I'm Jaylynd. I am a regional sales manager over at PeakMade Real Estate.
And my name is Laurence. I'm the founder and CEO of Studio and Commerce.
Love it. I really appreciate you all taking the time to join me today to chat through this really cool topic. Before we jump in, can I just have each of you share what your favorite brand is and why?
I mean, I'll jump in first. I'm probably going to say at the moment, from a digital marketing strategy perspective, I think Liquid Death, they are doing some amazing stuff. I think it would be a really fun room to be working in, coming up with creative concepts.
Love that. And it's good.
Mine would be Kith, which is a lifestyle brand. It originally started off as a footwear retailer, and for those that know me, they know I love some good footwear. But they also really specialize in a lot of great collaborations, such as Coca-Cola. But just being able to incorporate those two together, lifestyle brand and other day-to-day brands, is one of my favorites. So Kith for sure.
For me right now, which is actually, I don't know if I'm dating myself, but I would have to say Sony. I've been kind of doing a little bit of research and going back just into how Sony has been able to grow their brand, and just it's one of those things that outside of like a Ferrari or something that's ultra exclusive and expensive, Sony holds a lot of weight. You know what I mean? But it's not always deemed as like a Rolls Royce, or it's not held in such high regard. But I mean, yeah, if I had to pick one right now, it would be Sony.
That's cool. Also, you are dating yourself, because Jaylynd is, what is Sony?
Sony's, yeah.
Love that. So we'll jump in. Let's start off just by talking a little bit about how student housing developers can build a brand that really resonates with both students and their parents. Because let's be real, y'all. We all know that the students are making the decision based off where their friends live or what might be cool, what's heavily amenitized. but the parents are paying. So how do we build brands that resonate with both?
I'd say really from definitely a digital aspect since everyone is right in front of their phones, in front of some type of screen 24/7, but really building out like those dual campaigns and dual personas, essentially being able to provide content that the students are liking. Like they're the ones that are getting the interest first, like they're the ones that's providing that initiation. And then they're telling their parents about it. So being able to be in front of them on Instagram, TikTok, but also doing the same thing with the parents for Facebook and TikTok as well, because I don't know about y'all's parents. Mine are also on TikTok. I don't even have it, but they're on it. So there's that. But just basically being able to have that audience, split up a bit with those different campaigns that are really aligning with like what they're wanting to see. So for parents, it's about safety, it's about the environment and ensuring their students are, somewhere with a ease of mind. And then for the students, like they're really wanting to be at the like most fetch places. So just making sure that we're really targeting those two campaigns.
I love that. Ross, I think your company is doing some really cool stuff here. Anything you want to add?
When I sort of look at brand, I look at what are we doing visually, how are we communicating our brand values, and how are we making sure that that's being executed across all touch points, right? So are we seeding, influencers? Are we making sure that user journey is represented on a landing page? Are our email flows following up with the same message? And then how are we sort of providing value that's driving awareness to our brand and really just having a 360 approach to everything? I really believe that your brand should be your moat, and it's really what should make you stand out in the marketplace. I think with the growth of student housing over the last 5 years, we see a lot more competitors on the market, and we see a lot of the same sort of homogenized messaging. So I think it's a really good opportunity for a lot of brands. If you are able to go through a rebrand, take reference from the kits and the, obviously not your liquid deaths, but take reference from consumer brands, because brands are everywhere, and the way that Gen Z interacts with brands is very different to how millennials or older Gen X relate to brands. So I think that's very important as well.
Love that. And that's a really good point too, Ross. I mean, these markets, people are just finding grass and putting them up. They are getting very crowded. So with that being said, let's actually continue down that path because I think that's very interesting. How can we make our brand stand out or pop? Because to your point, there are so many different purpose-built products now everywhere. But like, what can we do to like differentiate our brand from our competitors?
Was that to me directly or to the?
I mean, anybody can take it.
Okay. I mean, you go, Dave.
Oh, well, no. So I was, of course, going to pick you because I know that you'll have some data and some analytics to pair with it. But I know for me, one of the things for sure is that because it is such a crowded space, you want to make sure that you're becoming ingrained in the community that you're entering into. Just using Dallas, for instance, you know what I mean? You have Bishop Arts, you have Plano, you have Frisco, you have all of these suburbs and then cities within the cities. And by you becoming connected and a true partner with them, you'll be able to have branding and you'll be able to speak to the actual community that is there, thus drawing in your target audience by organic and authentic measures, for sure.
Yeah, I'll add something. I think what we're doing now is going to be very different to what we're doing in a year's time, right? I think with AI optimization affecting absolutely everything that we do, the customer journey has become very fragmented. So we need to be really making sure that we're showing up in these potential residents' lives before they know they even have a problem. Coming back to the sort of the local community aspect, like what problems are we solving for people before they've even realized they've got a housing problem, whether that's what's it like to, be a freshman at U of A? What's it like to move away from home for the first time? Like these are the kind of things that I think a lot of student housing brands need to start thinking about across all of their channels. And so when these students do progress, whether it's from freshman on campus into second year as a junior, where the properties that you work for are now top of mind, right? Because you've helped them solve genuine problems before they realize they had a housing one.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Ross.
For sure it is.
So I'm going to shift gears a little bit here, and I'm going to actually have you jump in on this one, Jaylynd. So our branding we focus on first, and then once we get that down for whatever the property is, we then begin to create advertising pieces, digital, collateral, just all sorts of things. And our leads experience a bunch of touch points with us before they actually make a decision. So, because there are so many different channels for them to communicate with us on, and so many different pieces of advertising that touches them along the way, it just can be a lot. How can we personalize the experience for them?
So, kind of going back to, I know Ross mentioned the customer journey, because there are so many touch points just throughout that search process, is just really keeping that messaging super simple for them. It's the first thing that they're going to see, and they're constantly scrolling as well. So, the attention span of our demographic now is way much shorter than what I feel like we're used to. I'm used to like reading through everything, but now it's just like, okay, the first thing I see, I'm going with it and I'm going to continue to scroll. So I think that should be the same thing that we do whenever we are looking into the journeys, like from the landing page all the way to the floor plan page. Like, how long are they staying on those different pages? And how can we best simplify that messaging that's still like being personable to them, where they know they're still like, where they know that we're still at the top of the mind for them as well. So I'd say like just really keeping that messaging simple for them too.
And yeah, I know your company, same thing, where you have like a nurturing, um, you know, a full on like perspective client nurture system that you have in place. So anything you can add to how we just really make it personal, that nurturing.
For sure. Like even speaking to what Jaylen and Ross were just saying, right? From AI becoming a part of our everyday lives, right? If I'm a student that's moving from New York to Texas A&M, one of the things that I want to know is who has the best pizza, and less is more. So you can directly be able to provide those answers and use that to your advantage. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things like you can simply say certain things and it'll gain that traction. Jaylen is 100% correct. Gen Z attention span is like that. You know what I mean? So less is more for sure.
And then just also touching back to that point too, I think with, because Dee mentioned AI, Gen Z, they can see right through that as well. So just making sure, especially with our teams here at Peak, just making sure that they're touching base with those leads in the midst of AI as well. So like having that communication just to check in, like, hey, did you get everything that you needed? We're here if you need anything additional. So just making sure that they understand that human element, because we are still in the people business. So just making sure that that value is being displayed.
And I actually have a really big question for Ross, y'all. Now that we're talking about AI, I mean, Ross, I feel like you gather so much data from our demo in order for you all to be super successful, and you are. So I'm sure you have some good insight. But do they AI or not, Ross? Are we using it wrong? Tell us.
No, I mean, listen, obviously we create content at scale. So currently we're working with about 8 properties. We have about 30 UGC creators living at these properties. We use a lot of AI automation on our internal processes and systems to improve workflows and efficiencies. When it comes to communication, we still have a copywriter. So I've got a real life copywriter on payroll that's literally writing social media copy, where we have DM teams that do outreach, so like we're very much in the platforms, and I can definitely sort of talk about that. But I think back to Jaylynn's point, Gen Z love to use AI to do things for them, but they don't like to do things because AI has told them to do it. So I think from my perspective, my generation, if I woke up every morning and there was a list of things that I need to do that an AI told me to do, I'd be stoked because it removes any decision-making process. But so that's going to be interesting to see because, yeah, as I said, what we're doing now, it'll be very different in a year's time. Yeah, so back to the point of brand as well, I would really like to start seeing, whether it's new development or rebrand, start looking at themselves more like a lifestyle brand. So things down to merch, gone are the days where I think, we can just give away pens and mugs and cups. I want to see capsule collections. I want to see a 300-gram GSM overweight hoodie. I want to see stuff that actually stands out in the marketplace. Because if we are talking about influencing influencers, we did a brand ambassador campaign at a property And we really wanted to make sure that that merch was that opening sort of conversation starter. So if we've got one of our brand ambassadors standing in line at the food hall, another kid walks up, hey, where did you get that hoodie from? It allows them to open the dialogue and sort of say, hey, I'm a brand ambassador at Property X. And so that's where I think I would like to see, a little bit of growth. Like, how can we actually start fitting into the lifestyle fashion aspect of what kids are looking for in brands these days, more so
I've been
than
pushing the skate decks, by the way. Like, that's been somebody is going to get a skate deck somewhere,
yeah.
something.
I mean, we even when we did it at LSU, we were lucky, and it's probably the same at most colleges. We actually got some branded Nike Dunks, right, with the LSU colors, and then had the logo embroidered onto the sort of back end of it. So it sort of feels personalized. So I'm pretty sure every single college in America can find some branded shoes.
Ross, to speak to that, birds of a feather, University of Oregon.
Yeah.
Anybody who can hear this, look that up when you get a chance. They're doing some really cool exclusive things. They're the University of Oregon alumni who are partnered with Nike, and they literally just dropped, I think, like some Air Force Ones like a couple of weeks ago. But it's one of those things to where students, academics first, the next thing they look up is sports, right? So I want to go to Bama because of the football team, blah, blah, blah. But then next is the very next thing is culture. Birds of a Feather is doing a great job to where now you're genuinely committing students because they believe that the culture is just absolutely incredible. So that, Ross, you're spot on with that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even if I could just sort of add one more point, like I know from management and investors' perspective, everyone's always looking for that ROI, right? They want to know what's the return on the investment. At sort of a very basic level, we spent about $500 on a PR pack with a college freshman who's now moving into a property next year. I guarantee you that she's probably going to sign 30 or 40 leases through her sorority just from that one $500 investment. So, I want more sort of thought around how can we sort of have that brand as our moat, knowing that these kids will naturally just talk about it, and what tools can we give them so it doesn't feel forced and more sales driven.
Love that. Also, I just made a note for our next panel, how to overcome budget restrictions. This but worth it. So I appreciate that. That's helpful. I also wrote down birds of a feather, so I can look at that. Okay, let's talk about social trends, right? That is still all the rage with Gen Z. So, Ross, can you share a little bit about what students are looking for in social trends and from brands today through social?
Sure.
What is not corny?
I think I've really noticed a bit of not a lag in student housing, but obviously coming from a direct to consumer in a fashion world. I was a fashion photographer for 20 years. I've worked with consumer products all around the world. So I do see a really good opportunity for student housing in general to be using more micro influencers. I mean, some of these properties have 600-700 kids that have literally grown up with phones, right? So directly speaking about how to influence influencers, you already have the influencers living at your property. You've just got to figure out a way to get a camera in front of their experience and distribute it to your channels. So I do see a big trend in micro influencers being super beneficial. I also see a trend in more lifestyle content. So kids don't necessarily want to see all the time features, highlights, benefits, amenities. They want to see what the top restaurants are, what their college experience is going to look like, what's it like to go to a basketball game, what's it like to... So these are the kind of content types that I'm seeing perform really well. And I think, it's a challenge to kind of make sure that you're creating and distributing them. So yeah, that's what I see as a trend, especially for the next 6 months to a year. But once again, we won't know what happens in 2027. So
it's wild that we're in 2025. That's
yeah.
Cool. Okay, and then what about creating urgency? Also, obviously, like in my intro, I said we don't want to be cringy, right? Like these renters want authenticity. So are there any digital ad strategies, social strategies that we could roll out, or a way we could roll them out that we create urgency without being too pushy? How do we stay authentic? And Jay, I'll actually start with you, but it'd be cool to hear from all of you.
Yeah, I know I touched on this earlier, but I mean, I'll continue to say it till I'm blue in the face. But simplicity is really key. Just making sure you're getting that messaging out, and also being authentic. A lot of times, especially in in our later markets, they're becoming later and later because the students are feeling like, okay, we're standing still on what if it's this rate, this special, and we're letting them know about it. And consistently too, I think consistency is also very key for that too. But just making sure that our messaging is super clear for them to know, like, okay, I really don't have time to wait. And then also making sure that we're not being super, I guess, like maybe I know we said cringe, but also trendy too. Like I know oftentimes with, especially with a lot of our clients, they're seeing these trends, whether it's on TikTok, and just making sure that they understand that they're not our demographic. And so students like are not wanting to be sold to, like they want to know the experience, they want to trust the creator, which is us, first before buying into that. So I'd definitely say just keeping an eye out on that messaging and keeping it pretty concise.
So for sure, less is more. And just to kind of speak to that point, I would say being as agile as possible. Because with the attention spans being so short for Gen Z, there's a very fine line between on time and cringe, as Jaylynd said. So if there is a trend or if there is something that's going on and it takes your team 4 or 5 days to create their own version or to reproduce, that is, it's already over with. Now it's lame. It is literally that quick. Anything past, for me, what I like to tell companies that we work with, 48 hours, right? So if we cannot have something produced and back on the market within 48 hours, at that point, it's probably already over with. You know what I mean? And then you are the old guys that are just trying to piggyback. So for me personally, I would say be as agile as possible, right? Have somebody that's in that spot that you trust, that their motives and their vision aligns with the company, so that you trust them for that.
I think, I mean, if we're speaking specifically about, where we're at right now, I mean, some of the clients that we're working with, they're at 85, 87% full, right? Everyone's looking for that last push. Like, I think it's important to make sure that your teams are operating in the same silo, right? So, like, is your organic social team collaborating really quickly with your paid team? I think that's really important. Sometimes, speed to market from organic to paid could be a little bit slow. So if you are pushing urgency, like we've got a case now where we've seeded some created content, and in an ideal scenario, I would love to get that into a paid funnel within 3 days. So like, you really need to make sure your teams are optimized for that quick turn when urgency is an issue, because a kid could see some content on organic social, they might land on your web page, their friend calls, are they being retargeted an hour later with similar kind of content that's not branded? So there's so many things that go into that, but I think making sure your team's operating in the same silo is very important.
100%. I think all of you are 100% correct, especially with that transparency and consistency. So I'm going to round us out here. And again, would love to hear from all three of you. You could just give our audience your biggest do and your biggest don't, best practice or major mistake to avoid when marketing or branding, optimizing any strategies. If y'all could give us some of y'all's wisdom.
So my first do is call out your customer cohort in your content. Humans will process text quicker than they will visuals or sound. So whatever demographic you're working in, whatever locality you're working in, if you're working with MSU, U of A, when there's thousands of acronyms, put that in the first 3 seconds of your hook. The creative does the targeting, right? So unless you're calling out your customer cohort, they're not going to know it's meant for them. So that's my biggest do. Don't, I would say, trend hack too much. Back to Dee's point. Sometimes I do account audits and I'll see some vanity metrics around views, likes, and shares around a trend, and it can kind of skew the effectiveness. Was it only trendy, or did it only get those metrics because it was a trend? Was it the sound? Are other people in the leasing industry sharing that because that's what they think they should do? So be very mindful of trends. And the other thing is try and find a metric from a business perspective that allows you to gauge the success of your organic social media activities. So one thing that we like to look at, knowing that social media isn't something you can just turn on, lead to lease conversion rates, make sure you're tracking a business metric that makes sense, because with analytics these days, you might not necessarily get the attribution directly from a TikTok, directly from Instagram. So over time, you should really see those ratios changing, because brand affinity will be built. They'll research a property, they'll go through your feed, they'll look at the lifestyle content. And so when they come in to sign that lease, it's going to be done a lot quicker. So that's my advice on that.
Ross, I think I also heard you say nobody want to see leasing consultants dancing on TikTok doing a dance.
Yeah, I mean, I do say that a lot. I understand that strategy is really important, and sometimes it is up to the leasing consultants to execute strategy. They might be really busy with packages, signing leases, answering phones. So when they see on their calendar, like, oh, I've got to get something up, they might open up their personal TikTok and then sort of make something that sort of just to get it out. So, I mean, I can talk about strategy for hours. So yeah, the more that we can turn the lens around and actually focus on real student experiences, the more engagement and more traffic you'll actually get to your website to hopefully increase the amount of inquiries you get.
Okay, you want to give us your do and don't?
Yeah, I would say a do is have a brand voice. Like, I think we've kind of fallen away from like having fun with the brand. That's really one thing that creates that loyalty, especially for our users, is that they're so used to like either seeing us comment or respond back to comments under our post, or just really have that true voice for them to, look forward to. I know Ross is working with a handful of our properties that do just that too, like where they're getting compliments in the market, like, oh my goodness, I love Baton Rouge's Instagram. Like, it's so good. Like, I love following y'all. I'm so excited about the seafood boil that they have, or crawfish boil that they have every season. So just really getting into the habit of that and like creating that voice. Like, it doesn't have to be super professional 24/7. Like, the students, like, that's our demographic. So they're wanting to see something more chill, more relaxed, and just more conversational too. So that's definitely my biggest do. And then don't overutilize AI. Y'all, they see right through us, whether if it's captions, whether if it's a banner on your website, like, just keep it simple, keep it authentic, but just utilize it for the things that obviously help our business be more effective, but not for the actual user experience.
Pete?
Yes. So my do would be to always be on brand. It's one of those things to where if we're talking about merch, or we're talking about even like the people that are in the office, you want them to always match exactly what you're trying to drive home, because these things always end with human interactions, right? So it's one of those things that absolutely everything that we do has to be on brand, even on a granular level. The people who we have in these positions and in these offices and at these activations matter, right? For me, it would be to always be on brand, from the socials to the merch to the people. Everything absolutely has to align. And if I, or my don't, would be don't over communicate. If I can say anything, I would for sure like to say that, as I said before, less is for sure more. And it's just one of those things that where you build trust through transparency. So the more you communicate with these prospective clients on socials or whatever it is, the over analyzing or the over communicating that you are doing, it kind of casts doubt, right? It's like, what are these guys hiding? Like, they tell me how safe they are every single day on socials or once a week. What are they covering up? You know what I mean? Like, what are they trying to throw me off the tracks of? If my biggest don't will for sure be don't over communicate. Less is more for sure.
Love that.
Yes.
And I love what you said about being on brand, even down to the people.
For sure.
We actually conduct focus groups every single year at PeakMade. And one of the really big takeaways was that, our renters want to see people that look like them. They want to be represented. So I think that's extremely important to make sure that, your staff is diverse and they're spunky. We don't have people, going to events or representing us at brand housing fairs, things like that, branding events, and they're just sitting there not really wanting to talk to people. So that's a really good point. Yeah. So this has been really great insight from this crew, and I knew that that's what we would get. I really appreciate all of you for taking the time, being patient with me. This is my first time moderating a podcast, so I'm very
You did a good
excited.
job.
No, you did great for sure.
Thank you. So with that being said, we will wrap it up there. And then if we get questions, I will be sure to direct them to all of you to your email, communicate to anybody that has any questions. So thank you. Thanks for joining.
Again, it's Rob's accent. It's so much easier to listen to, and like you just automatically, think, wow, this is a really intelligent conversation.
Yeah, seriously.
Thanks so much for putting those folks together, Alaina. It was great hearing everyone's perspective, and I think everyone listening to it is certainly better off for it. So we're recording this kind of at the end of June. You got any big plans with your summer? Or are you all focused on finishing out the leasing season?
I am focused on finishing. It has been a journey, but we are almost there. So I feel really good about finishing the summer strong, but that is where my focus will be.
Well, everyone will be in my thoughts and prayers as you finish out the season. And what's the saying from not May the Force Be With You, the other movie? Oh, I'm totally blanking on it right now. Anyway, everybody's in my thoughts as they finish out the leasing season and move into turn. But I do want to make sure everybody has on their calendar October 20th through 22nd is the National Multi-Housing Council annual student housing conference. Is going to be out in Scottsdale. And we are doing the past couple of years for that event. We've been doing a Topgolf mixer. Just so you know, past couple of years has been in Vegas. So getting to Topgolf was pretty easy from anywhere on the strip. But there's a Topgolf Scottsdale, I should say, is just a couple of minutes down the road from the resort that the conference is at. So we're doing that, but we're also combining it this year with a fundraiser for the College Student Mental Wellness Advocacy Coalition, or better known within the industry, the Coalition. We've got a bunch of resources and, of course, the big annual survey that's coming up. And so we wanted to, all those things obviously cost money. And so we're doing a couple of things with that. So you'll find that link on the events page as well. So make sure you go check that out and get more information. And we're doing a silent auction. So if your company, maybe they've got NFL season tickets for a team that maybe they want to donate a game for that, or maybe a trip or something like that, we'll be holding that silent auction at the event as well. Alaina, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.